All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And the next topic here is quite interesting. You guys will remember that just the other day it got announced, unfortunately, that Academy Award-winning director Danny Boyle, who was supposed to be directing Bond 25, has suddenly and abruptly left the project over what is being called creative differences. Raising again the question of, why the hell didn't you guys find out that you were creatively on the same page before you offered the job and before you accepted the job? And now here we are with you leaving the project over creative differences. Whatever. It's an unfortunate situation. I was looking forward to seeing what Danny Boyle would do with the James Bond. Anyway, reports are now coming out that there is a new shortlist of directors that the producers are looking at to bring on to helm Bond 25. And the coolest name on this list is Edgar Wright. Now, there are several names on here. We've got Edgar Wright, David Mackenzie. It was previously announced that Jean-Marc Vallée was in the running before they hired Danny Boyle, and Yann Demange was also on the list before they hired Danny Boyle. So these are still names that are still being looked at, but a name that was not there before was Edgar Wright. Now, Edgar's last film was maybe the best film he's ever done, Baby Driver. I've talked a lot about Baby Driver on this show. I thought that movie was just fantastic. The pacing, it had, you know what it had? Baby Driver had that humor edge that is clearly Edgar Wright, but Edgar Wright brought a little bit of, you know, Lock, Stock, and Snatch Guy Ritchie-isms into it as well, and made this great, really quick flowing film with wonderful characters, great humor, great action. It was just a spectacular movie. I love Baby Driver. And of course, you know, Edgar Wright was in the news a lot over the last few years, mainly because he was supposed to be the director of Ant-Man. However, Ant-Man had moved off in a new... I mean, the MCU had developed since his original Ant-Man script. His original Ant-Man script didn't fit with the MCU anymore, and they very, you know, in a very friendly way decided to part ways, and he didn't end up directing that, so that's fine. Now, look, I'm not going to be one of these guys that starts jumping up and down going, Edgar Wright needs to be the guy to direct this now. No, I think a lot of those other names could do a great job directing a James Bond film, but we're all Edgar Wright fans, right? So there is a part of us that would love to see him pick something like this up. And here's the thing, talking about Baby Driver again, I think Baby Driver was, at least from a production level, was a next level up kind of film for Edgar Wright. Because a lot of the films we've seen Edgar Wright do have been like films who your really talented buddy would make, right? Could Edgar make a film, because things fell apart with Ant-Man, so we didn't get a chance to find out, can Edgar make that next level up kind of a movie? And he gave us Baby Driver and showed us that he can completely crush it. He's got fantastic sensibilities when it comes to, you know, narrative storytelling, when it comes to visual storytelling. He's one of the best directors in the world when it comes to having a sense of pace to his films. He's amazing. You bring those sensibilities to a James Bond, and you know, we've seen a lot of people online recently talking about how one of the little elements missing, you know, Robert Meyer Burnett brought this up the other day. One of the elements that have been missing from this Daniel Craig Bond, and Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond of all time, he's great, but a really good observation Robert made was that this Bond with Daniel Craig is missing a little bit of that humor that we used to get, like with the Sean Connery Bond, you know? And I think a director like Edgar Wright, and other directors could do it as well, yes, but I think a director like Edgar Wright would be incredibly fascinating to see what he could do with a Bond franchise, both in maintaining the legacy of the current Bond, but also bringing his own specific DNA to the project. I think it would be cool as hell. So, hey, look, they could announce another one of those guys, and I'll be perfectly happy with them. These are some good names they're proposing. But I got to admit, I think myself and a lot of you guys are probably going to geek out a whole bunch if we find out that Edgar Wright is indeed directing a brand new James Bond film. That would be awesome. All right, let's move on to the final off the